Okay. All right. Three, two, one. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Back Pocket Podcast. Week 12 of the NFL season already. It is going by so fast. And might I add, again, I don't know how many people are doing four-person predictions for the entire season. I don't think you're going to find a closer one on YouTube than the Back Pocket Podcast. Right now, tied for first place, a three-way tie for first place. We have Kian McDermott, Dylan Chalm, and me, Serge Kadali, all have 107 wins and 59 losses. In fourth place, Charlie has 106 wins and 60 losses. So it is down to the wire right now. Every game matters. So this is a great video to watch. This is going to be really exciting.
I'm doing great. I feel like, you spoke a little bit on our predictions. And if you go back to, let's see, if we go back to week 8, Kian had a firm 3-game grasp.
Yep.
He was 6 games ahead of me in last. And if you go back even further to like week 3, it was me on top. So that just shows you how quickly it changes. And now we're all within a game, which is insane because there have been 166 NFL games this year. And we have all picked them with the exact same accuracy.
Yeah, and it's
We
not like
picked different
we're
ones. We've gotten different ones right and different ones wrong. Yet we're all right there. And I would love to see me get one more game right than the three of you this week, just to see us all tied through like
oh my
13
God.
weeks. That would be
We
insane.
have the
But
Pittsburgh Steelers fresh off a win against the Ravens, first in the AFC East, going against the lowly Browns. Charlie, do you think this one's going to be close at all?
yeah, I do actually. Not because I don't think much of the Steelers, because I think the Steelers are a top 3 team in the AFC, right? It's hard because the AFC is
Mhm.
so top heavy right now. It's um it's really tough to predict when you get the top AFC teams because you're looking at Buffalo at 9-2, Pittsburgh at 8-2, KC at 9-1, the Ravens 7-4, the Texans 7-4, the Chargers 7-3. You've got a lot of top teams in the AFC. The Steelers, it's hard to say that they're the best, but they did just knock off the Ravens, and I do really, really like the Steelers going forward. That being said, the only reason I think this is going to be relatively close is because I feel like the Steelers just don't blow out teams. At least they haven't this year. It's not the Steelers' mantra to go out and beat someone by a lot of points. The Jets may be the only exception.
Yeah, and
And
even that
you
was also a
again
bit of
think that that
garbage
game was
time.
closer than the scoreline, suggests. So I am going to pick the Steelers with a pretty comfortable. I mean, it's going to be comfortable, but I don't think it's going to be some 3-score game.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you that it will be closer than you think. I mean, I think you see with the AFC North in general, it's always going to be close. They beat each other up. Probably the biggest rivalry in terms of a whole division in the NFL. And I think the Browns still have some talent on both sides of the ball, even though obviously this is a disaster season. But I'm going to go with the Steelers as well here. I think compared to last year, I think people just have this idea of the Steelers as bad defense, good offense right now, but their offense is capable. I mean, Russell Wilson probably had his worst game of the season, but still, he's been playing good football at quarterback. You see Pickens really emerging into a top 10 receiver in the NFL. Mike Williams is someone who I also think is a great deep threat weapon where, again, Russell Wilson's biggest strength is his deep ball. And you have two guys that are contested catch guys. That's really how it works for them. And I think it'll work for the Steelers. And I think against the Browns, again, they're going to force some turnovers. They're going to make it ugly. But I feel like Cleveland, a lot of players have already packed it in at this point. They're tanking for a high draft pick. I think Pittsburgh wins this one.
Yeah.
Now, going on to the next game, we are going to be doing next game. We have the New York Giants, who have made a quarterback switch. Now going with Tommy DeVito. They're going to be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Charlie, what do you think about that as a Giants fan?
Uh, I it's tough because I think it's the wrong choice.
Hmm.
This is a football team that was not. It's not like their backup is some messiah. Okay,
Mhm.
Tommy DeVito played a few games last year
Tommy
and
Cutlets.
was really impressive in the couple games he played. It's not going to happen again. We all know it's not going to happen like that again. And if it does, great. I'm happy because I love seeing my football team win football games. But like, look, we just paid this quarterback 2 years ago, and to go bench him, right before he's probably going to get cut this offseason is just a really interesting move to me because it doesn't matter and you're just upsetting the team dynamic in the locker room. I read some things today that, Dexter Lawrence, who is one of the most
Yeah.
vocal leaders on the team, just completely disagrees with this move because he's like, this is our quarterback. And benching a quarterback is not a decision that should be taken lightly. And I know they didn't take it lightly, but it just doesn't seem right to me. This is a football team that's not going anywhere, no matter who their quarterback is. Why are we switching quarterbacks this late in this season?
Yeah, no, I see that. And I think also with the report that apparently Brian Dable might be coaching for his job as well, you got to put the best guy on the field. And I know Jones has had his struggles, but do you really feel like Tommy DeVito is going to make to be that big of a
There's no
change?
change. It's not like you're going to a rookie quarterback here.
Right.
You're not. If you just drafted someone in
Even
the
if you're
third
going to
round last
Tyron,
year
then
and
like
you
last
wanted to
year.
give him a chance, I understand that. But you are going to a quarterback who we know has no future in the NFL as anything other than a backup. What is the point? And they just picked up Tim Boyle off waivers too.
Oh my God, he's so
What
bad.
what
Me
was
and
the point
Dylan
of
can both
that?
attest to that.
What was the point of that? We already have three terrible quarterbacks.
How Tim Boyle is still in the league is a
But also,
mystery to
why do
me.
we need a fourth quarterback?
Emergency? I don't
It's
know.
just a weird roster decision.
hmm I think Daniel
Um,
Jones might be the emergency quarterback because he's third string now, right?
I mean, I think they just said they were benching him and they didn't know who they were going to. So whether he's third string or not, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter at this point.
Right.
But
hmm
I'm gonna pick the Bucks in this one, and it shouldn't be a very close game.
Yeah, no, Bucks. I think they're getting Mike Evans back this week too, which I think will do wonders for that offense. Baker's already he's performed admirably, honestly, without his number one and number two receivers, and now getting Evans back, they're gonna look like the Bucks offense we saw earlier in the season. I think the Bucks defense is a bit vulnerable. I think Tommy DeVito, if he can do it like against the Packers last year, maybe he can have an okay performance, but it won't be enough. Bucks win this one, I think, pretty comfortably. But now moving on to the next one, we have the Carolina Panthers playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, I mean, the Panthers, they're on a good run right now. They're on a good run right now, but now they're playing a pissed off Kansas City team who suffered their first loss of the season in Buffalo. Charlie, what do you think about this one?
Um, Blowout, like question
Yeah.
mark. I don't know. I don't honestly know that the Chiefs are super capable of blowing anyone out right now. Uh, but if they are, it's the Panthers. So,
Mhm.
this isn't going to be close, and the Chiefs are going to walk away. Walk out of Carolina with a win.
Yeah, pretty comfortable for me here. I mean, I like what Bryce Young is doing, and I think there is some weaknesses to this Chiefs defense, especially with Jalen Watson being out. Their secondary has looked vulnerable, and I think Bryce maybe will be able to have another okay game and continue his kind of good stretch, but I think Kansas City's offense is going to be too much. Chiefs win this one comfortably. Next game, we have the Washington Commanders on a bit of a skid, two-game losing streak, hosting the Dallas Cowboys, who are on more of a skid. Their season's over. It's over for them. I'm gonna go first for this one. I think Washington are winning this one. They're bouncing back here. I just don't really see anything of note other than CD Lamb for the Cowboys offense at this point. I mean, even their offensive line has regressed. Obviously, no Dak, no weapons outside of CD. Jake Ferguson also got injured in the last game against Houston. And I think the Commanders' defense is not it's not great, but it's not as bad as it was earlier in the season, and they'll be able to slow them down. I think Jane Daniels, he clearly looks still a little bit hampered by that rib injury, especially against Philly. I think having that mini bye will help him. I think it'll help honestly the Commanders as a whole with the reset. Yeah, I can't see them losing this game. Give me Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good amount of friends from DC who are Commanders fans, and a lot of them have been calling for Jaden Daniels to be benched for a game just because it
Mhm.
looks like he's still injured, and you never, want your quarterback play on injury. And I'm not sure that I totally agree with that because right now they need any win they can get, and we know that this Commanders team without Jaden Daniels is not a particularly good team. But if there was a game to do it, it's against the Cooper Rush led Cowboys because it's just not a team that has anything going for them right now. And even before Cooper Rush came in for injured Dak Prescott, the Cowboys had let up 27 point 27 points or more in each of their last 5 games and 7 of the 10 games this season. The defense is not playing well. The offense is now not playing well that they don't have their quarterback, and Washington's gonna just walk all over them. It's been a little bit of a skid, yes. Two straight losses, but against two really, really good teams and two favorites. So they're gonna rebound this week, and it's an easy one against the Cowboys. They had a long week. They played on Thursday night last week, and Jaden Daniels, hopefully for him and hopefully for Washington, will be fully healthy. So give me Commanders, easy.
Yeah, I think so as well. Going on to the next one, we have the Miami Dolphins hosting the New England Patriots, and the Dolphins. They're on a two-game winning streak, and in this AFC, which is very kind of like you said, top heavy, there are still playoff teams up for grabs for teams that had a slow start, and that includes the Dolphins. I mean, back-to-back wins, their offense now looking like the offense we've seen the last 2 years with Tua Tagovailoa healthy. Their defense is kind of hit or miss. Like sometimes they can have good games. We saw against the Rams, they were the example of a bend but don't break defense. Anthony Weaver did a great job in that game, kind of limiting that Stafford Puka Cup-led offense. And I think it's going to continue against the Patriots, who, again, other than Drake May, not really much to write home about, especially on offense. Offensive line definitely needs some work. Receiving room definitely needs some work. May, I think, can pull off some magic with kind of just his athletic traits. He's a great runner as well as a great not a great, but for a rookie, I think he is great. But I just don't see there's a clear gulf in talent between these two teams. And I think McDaniel's been coaching better the past few weeks, and I think that's gonna be the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Miami make it three on the bounce here. And, you said it. Miami currently sits at 4-6, the nine seed in the AFC, only two games off of playoff contention. And there's a chance, right? I don't think it'll happen. And I think it's hard to say that right now, the way that Miami's season as a whole has gone, that they're favorites to make this playoff spot because they're not.
Mm.
But there is definitely a chance there. And I mean, a win this week, making it three straight, that's a lot of momentum. And then they have the Packers, which is tough. But then they go play the Jets, which, there's a win. And it's just very possible. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't think it'll happen. I do think they'll beat the Patriots because, as you said, other than Drake May, there's nothing happening in New
Yeah.
England. Not right now.
I think that Packers game is the defining game because we've seen Miami teams the past few years go on the road in cold weather or even like
Not that cold weather.
cool weather
Just go
environments.
on the road. Let's be
Exactly,
clear.
exactly. And they've struggled to win, especially against
Yeah.
good teams. And Green Bay is an example of that. So if they can go there and win, I think they're making the playoffs because they're winning this one. Not, I mean, it's the NFL, it's a week to week league, but they're winning this one. They can't lose
Yeah.
to the Patriots. Give me Miami here. Moving on, we have the Houston Texans going against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, the Texans haven't looked that great. I know they're what 7-4 now, I think,
Yeah.
but they haven't looked that great all season. Stroud kind of, I won't say, well, it is a bit of a sophomore slump. I think a lot of it, just the offense as a whole, has been slumping this year. Bobby Slowick, I think, has significantly regressed. Houston just aren't a great team, especially on first down. They really struggle to kind of get ahead of the six, and that has cost their offense a lot of points. The offensive line again. I thought it was going to be okay last this year, but it has been one of the worst in the NFL. But I think one thing that is really promising is their defense. I really like that defense, especially the duo of Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. I think that's a top, maybe borderline top five, definitely top 10 unit in the NFL. And I think that's going to carry them against the Titans team that, I mean, Will Levis made a solid play against the Vikings, but other than that, I feel like he's a sitting duck here. Give me Tennessee, not Tennessee, give me Houston.
Yeah, definitely I'm going to take Houston in this one because as underwhelming as the Texans have been this year, the Titans are just
The
really,
Titans.
really bad. They're just
Yep.
really bad. And the one question I'll pose, and I know what I think, but is CJ Stroud like did we overestimate CJ Stroud? Did we take too much from last
Yeah,
season and people put him in too high of a
I think
conversation?
even the first two games of this season was also it was good, but everyone was kind of like, "Oh, he's like top three," and I'm like,
Right. No,
"He's
I
not.
think
No,
I
he's
think
not
the
there yet."
consensus for CJ Stroud has been he is one of the best.
Right.
And you put him in a conversation with, I'm not even going to put Mahomes in this conversation, but you put him, he's been put in a conversation with Lamar and Allen and Burrow. And he just, for me, has not done enough yet in his career to be put in
Hmm.
that conversation. And I think you can agree. And I think it just, players' career trajectories are all so different, right? Joe Burrow's first season, he was injured after 4 games. Josh Allen's first season was a complete disaster. And Lamar Jackson's first season, he was on the bench for the first 12 weeks. CJ Stroud came in last year and looked like one of the most incredible things we've ever seen. He
Yep.
was fantastic as a rookie. He looked like Justin Herbert as a rookie, who now is not in that top conversation. And I just wonder if we rated him a little bit too highly and the expectations are just too high. But look, this is still a 7-4 Texans team, which is still a lot better than they've been in the last, I guess, since Deshaun Watson had the 12-4 season with them.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Uh,
I think, all that I've said, I do still think that CJ Stroud's a fantastic quarterback.
mhm.
And what's weighed them down a lot this season is yes, Nico Collins has been out for the last 6 weeks or so. And yes, now Stephon Diggs is hurt. But if there's ever a time to gain momentum, they've got the Titans this week, and they are coming off of a big win against the Cowboys, and then they play the Jaguars, and then they play the Dolphins, and that'll set them up for Chiefs and Ravens. So
Hmm.
we're gonna see at the end of the season, what we're talking about with the Texans team. Are they a team that can go out and challenge for Super Bowl,
Yeah.
or are they still a year or two away? Because that's totally okay too. Totally realistic, totally see that happening. I'm gonna take the Texans easily in this one.
Yeah, no, definitely kind of a run of games that kind of is a good time for them to bounce back, I feel like. And I 100% agree
Yeah.
with you on the Stroud discussion because one comparison, I never took the Allen and Lamar comparison
No,
seriously,
absolutely not.
but the Burrow one irked me too because I felt like I know Stroud beat Burrow last year and Burrow kind of wasn't that great until I mean he was picking it up, but he wasn't that great last year until he had the season-ending injury. But this is a quarterback not only that's a Super Bowl quarterback, but a quarterback that has been kind of just in general one of the best regular season performers in the season, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. And you see what he's doing now, even though disregard the fact that the Bengals are 4-7, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He could have an MVP case if not for him having one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And I think people were too kind of quick to not necessarily crown CJ Stroud, but put him in comparisons to guys that were a much more veteran quarterbacks and had accomplished a lot more because of his obviously otherworldly rookie season. So I do love Stroud. I agree with you. He's still a fantastic quarterback. And now people are also going to overreact to this stretch as well. And I think people are going to say, oh, he's barely top 10. He's still a top 6, 7 quarterback in the NFL. But yeah, it is a bit of a sophomore slump for him for now.
Look, I think that at the end of the day, I was thinking about this earlier, people put players that they like. Obviously, this is
Right.
no,
No, no, 100% agree.
revelation, but
The
you take
brand
a
new
player
shiny
that you
toy.
like, and when he does something right, it's like nobody else has ever done this before.
Mhm.
And when he does something wrong, it's like it wasn't that wrong. You see it with a lot of players. CJ Stroud last season had an unbelievable rookie season, and people say it was the best rookie season ever, something like that, right? And now he hasn't been great this year. He's thrown 7 interceptions in 11 games, which is not a great number.
Mhm.
And it almost feels overlooked. It's like he's still in that conversation. And I see it with other players too. Caleb Williams, every time he makes a great scramble and throw, people say that he is the best prospect we've ever seen. And then the fact that the Bears are what, 5-6
Five and six.
doesn't
I
seem
want to say 5-6, maybe four and
doesn't
six.
really
Not
seem
bad.
to discourage anyone. And now I get he's a rookie, so I'm not gonna, you know, use Caleb Williams as a main culprit here. But it just feels like when a player is hyped up so much, when they do things wrong, it just doesn't get looked at.
Right.
And CJ Stroud has done a lot of wrong this year. And he's also done a lot of right, so there's no doubt about it. But the wrong is overlooked right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
I think also at the same time, he has done a lot more right than wrong
correct. They're
because
7-4.
even
That's more
because
wins
yeah,
than losses.
he's still a great quarterback, but the fact that he's doing
Yes.
so much more wrong, especially compared to his rookie season, the fact that his expectations obviously have risen, I think is coming back a bit to bite him. Where now you're in that elite convo, you kind of get held to those standards.
Yeah, I mean the
But
Texans lost to the Jets a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
and CJ Stroud was awful.
hmm,
He was horrible, and I saw nothing about it. I saw maybe one or two things, but
right.
more,
The
Aaron
offensive
Rodgers does
line,
this, Garrett Wilson
Slowick.
does this. It wasn't CJ Stroud didn't do this, and he was terrible in that game, truly.
Hmm. Right. No, I agree.
Yeah,
But I think thus is the tale of a young star quarterback.
right.
But
Absolutely.
moving on, going on now to our next game, we have, I mean, we know who's winning this game. We know who's winning this game, but I do want to shout out the Colts, namely Anthony Richardson. Probably had his best game as a pro. By the way, it's
Yeah.
Lions Colts. I didn't say that, but he had a phenomenal game against the Jets, albeit against the Jets defense that has been one of the worst defenses in the NFL since firing Robert Saleh. Who could have said that was a bad decision? But either way, Anthony Richardson, he looked phenomenal, namely his accuracy, especially in the pocket. That was the most accurate I've seen him all season long. He looked like kind of how we expected him to kind of build off of his year one season, which we saw some of that and some of the bad, and now we saw most of the bad in year two up until this game. And this looked like kind of at times I was like, is this Anthony Richardson or is this Josh Allen? Because he was making those kind
Oh.
of plays. He was making those kind of. I mean, you can't tell me that game-winning rushing touchdown where he bowled over. I think it might have been Michael Carter. I don't really remember. Sorry, Michael Carter, if that wasn't you. But obviously, he's not Josh Allen. But he made those plays that made him the number four overall pick in the draft. I think that was really promising, bigger than any win for that the Colts could have ever had. So that's why you stick with him and not 4-year-old Joe Flacco. But going against the Lions, obviously the Lions are going to win this one pretty comfortably. They're stacked on offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, David Montgomery, Jameer Gibbs all had incredible games. I was talking about it with a friend earlier. Jameer Gibbs might be the best running back in the league, might be, but might not even be the number one running back on his own team. That's how stacked the Detroit Lions are right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put up another 50 burger here.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they put up 50 because it seems like it's following a bit of a pattern,
Yeah.
but uh this is the clearest win. The Lions are incredible. The Lions just have so much, and this is when I get so excited that I grabbed Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first round of my fantasy league because he's got a touchdown in 8 straight games, I believe. Um, and that's not because Amon-Ra's done anything so incredible. It's because they score so many points that everyone has a touchdown in the last eight
Everyone
weeks.
eats.
I mean, Montgomery, I believe, has 10 touchdowns in their last 8 weeks. Gibbs probably has close to that number. Um, Montgomery's got, yeah, 10 touchdowns. Gibbs has eight. Amon-Ra has nine. Jameson Williams has four. Sam Laporta's got three. Just everybody eats. And I mean, the Colts aren't slowing them down. But I will say I'm surprised. As much turmoil as the Colts have been in this year, and as much as they've been talked about as so terrible, they have 5 wins. And
Yeah.
they're a 5-6 football team. And
They're
look,
sneakily kind of in
it's
that
not
race and
something
no
to
one's
write
really
home
noticing
about,
them.
but it's the 8 seed in the AFC right now. And you know, there's a chance they're only one game off a playoff spot right now.
I really
Um,
want Anthony Richardson to just randomly turn to elite quarterback and the Colts finish like 11-6.
Look, I I think the Colts are going to make the playoffs right now.
Ooh.
When
Wait,
you
what's
look
their
at their
schedule? What's
schedule,
their? I'm
you've
trying
got
to
the
see it
Lions, that's
now.
a loss. The Lions is a loss.
Right.
But then they've got the Patriots, the Broncos, the Titans, the Giants, and the Jaguars.
Ooh. That last three is definite. I mean, not definitely because it's the Colts and you don't really know what they are,
Look,
but
it
those are all
based on the
winnable.
way they played last week, I would peg this team for a playoff spot. I'll rephrase what I said earlier. I don't think the Colts will go to the playoffs. I would not be surprised to see them win 4 of their last 6 games and be a 9-win playoff team.
Yep.
But the Colts and Anthony Richardson are far too erratic for that. As of right now, for me, um, getting off topic, gonna take the Lions with ease in this one.
Yeah, I think the number one thing for the Colts, honestly, is just not even saying that Anthony Richardson has to build off and be better than he was against the Jets because that's a hard task because he was great, but just kind of staying around that, like, and getting closer to that than where he was earlier in the season. I think that's a huge win for the Colts to end the year. But our next game now, we have the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are good. I don't know why. I don't know how. I kind of ignored it for long enough, but they're a good football team. And the Raiders are not. The Raiders are not. And I think that defense is going to be absolutely they're going to get absolutely the Raiders offense is going to get absolutely cooked, I think, by that Broncos defense. I think Bo Nix is going to have another solid game. And Yeah, give me Denver here.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you because yeah, I mean I feel like I've been a little bit more on the Broncos train this season than most, and I've really liked Bo Nix since the season started.
Hmm.
But uh they're playing against the Raiders here, and in this one I can't pick the Raiders. So it's gotta be the Broncos. And the Broncos, I know we've been talking about this AFC wildcard spot a lot. The Broncos are the ones who currently hold it at 6-5. Um they're the seventh seed, and I could see them being a lot higher than that.
Yeah, no, I think they're the team to make the playoffs at this point.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Especially with the Bengals continuing to just find ways to lose. That was the best football I saw them play all year against Atlanta, who are probably a playoff team. So
Right.
I like Denver to make the playoffs, especially in the weak AFC. But I did skip over. I think that I moved into our 4 o'clock window too early. We have one more 1 o'clock game. We have the Chicago Bears hosting the Minnesota Vikings. And the Bears, as a Jets fan, I think the one team that I feel like the one fan base I can relate to right now is the Chicago Bears because what can and will go wrong. And that was one of the better games they played all season, especially for the offense. Caleb Williams with that new offensive coordinator, Thomas Davis, they shockingly got the ball to DJ Moore. Thanks to my, I would say thank you because of my fantasy team, but I benched him. But they got him the ball, and surprise, surprise, it worked. They just looked like a more on schedule, a more kind of an actual NFL offense, and that defense is still pretty solid. And they were a blocked field goal away from winning against the Packers. And obviously, if you're a Bears fan, you're disappointed that close to beating a division rival that's a very good team, and losing that way is heartbreaking. But there is definitely, I feel like, some solace from that game, especially because the Bears aren't making the playoffs. They're not, especially in this NFC. So I think just seeing that from Davis, seeing that from Caleb was huge. Um, but against the Vikings, who also have been a bit slow in recent weeks, I think they're going to play some better. I mean, I think they're going to play cleaner football because I think they're still moving the ball well at this point in the season. But I just don't. I just think the turnovers have just been killing them and making the games a lot closer than they really should be. I think against the Bears, they're going to have a clean game. I think Minnesota wins this.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here. I'm gonna take the Vikings. Sam Darnold had a rebound week last week. I know we
Yep.
talked about it on the podcast last week. Um, about a couple bad weeks in a row for Darnold, and it was definitely a rebound week. And talking about Caleb a little bit, he's just having one of those seasons that, like numbers wise, is really boring.
Right.
He's got just over 2,000 yards with a very solid completion percentage and only 9 touchdowns through 10 games and only 5 interceptions through 10 games, which they're just numbers that like nobody writes home about. They're Daniel Jones like numbers when he's not throwing interceptions. They're just boring. And you look at someone like Darnold who's thrown 10 interceptions in 10 games, but 19 touchdowns. So the offense for the Bears has just been so stagnant and has just not done enough this season. And yes, they looked better last season or last week with a new offensive coordinator, but there is still so much improvement to be had. And it's going to be a slow process because, again, Caleb Williams is a rookie and they have assembled an offense that has DeAndre Swift, who it's his second year there. DJ Moore, it's his second year there. And then
Hmm.
Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze are both first year Bear players. Caleb Williams is a rookie, of course, new offensive line. Um, it's going to take time, but this week against the Vikings is not a week that you can be figuring it out because this is a very good football team. So the Vikings are going to win this one.
Yep, I agree. Moving on, we have this is a good game. We have the Green Bay Packers hosting the San Francisco 49ers. And might I add, we have not had one single disagreement in this video to
I
this point.
know.
We are
I know.
completely in sync right now. Charlie, I'm gonna go to you first. You think that changes?
Um, it's the Packers for me. I keep waiting for the day that we're recording and the Niners turn it around. But for whatever reason, the Niners just haven't turned it around yet. And they have all the pieces to do it. I know Ayuk is injured now for the season, and that's huge, and that sucks. And Christian McCaffrey was out for the first, what, 9 weeks of the season.
Yeah, something
Sucks.
like that.
But
Right.
now he's been back for 2 weeks and hasn't done much. I mean, he's been fine, but not
The offense
McCaffrey.
as a whole just doesn't look that
It
much
just doesn't
different.
look as in sync. We were used to a Niners offense last season that looked a lot like the Lions offense does this season. where you can count on McCaffrey to get at least 100 yards and, 4 touchdowns on some days.
Mm,
But right now, taking McCaffrey to even score 1 touchdown is a little bit of a stretch.
mm,
We got used to this Niners offense being so in sync. Debo getting touchdowns, Ayuk getting touchdowns, Kittle getting touchdowns, McCaffrey getting double all of their touchdowns combined. Um, and they haven't had that this year. They haven't had much success on the ground game at all. I know Jordan Mason rushed at a super impressive clip, yards per carry, but only ended up with 3 rushing touchdowns for the first 10 weeks or so. And the Packers have looked a little bit more like a more cohesive unit. Christian Watson had a great game last week. Um, one of the players of the week in across the entire NFL. And I'll take the 7-3 Packers at home right now, without too much hesitation, unfortunately, for the
mm.
Niners.
Uh, I'm not saying this just for the sake of disagreeing. I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. I'm
Okay.
gonna go Niners here. Um, I mean, the Niners have had the Packers number in the past few years, but I don't think that's really the reason why. I think it's more so that the Niners are just a week to week team now, and
Yeah.
they're still a very talented team in my opinion. I know Ayuk was obviously a huge loss, but we've seen Jawan Jennings step up and randomly be an elite, not elite, but a very good receiver one. I mean, he has been Purdy's favorite target easily, and he's come through even in a larger work and a larger work share. So I think he's been really good. I think Pearsall also was showed some promise so far. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. What's left of the season, anyways. And I think Debo hasn't been that great so far, but he's still Debo
No,
Samuel,
he
and you
is
still
not.
have Kittle. Will Kittle be back for this game actually? Because I know he
I'm not
missed.
sure.
I'm not sure. That's a huge
Um,
factor actually.
yeah, I don't know. And will Nick Bosa be playing? That's
Will Nick
another
Bosa be
conversation too.
playing? That is another I'm actually gonna look at that now because otherwise I actually will change my prediction, especially if Kittle isn't healthy, because I think you see in you see about that Seattle game how the offense does look night and day, at least without Kittle. I think he's even more important to this team than Christian McCaffrey right now. Um and yeah, it is something definitely to be monitored. I'm gonna base this on the assumption that he will be playing, especially because the Niners right now last in the NFC West based on tiebreakers. This is a massive game for them. I think they win. I think McCaffrey has a good game against the Packers. Like I feel like the Packers usually haven't been able to stop the Niners rush offense, and I think Shanahan continues that trend. Give me San Francisco. Am I confident? Not really, but
Look, I mean,
look, the Packers, I think the Packers have been asking for it. The Packers have not played great. I mean, the Bears game I thought was very disappointing from them. The Lions, I mean, they only lost by 10, but that was an out. They got outplayed from minute 1 through 60. Barely beat the Jags by 3, barely beat the Texans by 2. They haven't had a great performance really since I don't know what week it was, but October against the Cardinals. So, it's going to catch up to them. I think the Niners take it.
look, but at the same time, I mean, we got the unlucky week to pick a Niners game because this season they have not been over a game over or under 500. So if
Ooh,
the
so
Niners
that
were
would be an easy prediction
if the Niners
otherwise.
were 6-5, it's a loss. If the Niners were 5-6, it's a win. But the Niners are 5-5. This can go either way. They have not won more than two in a row. They have not lost more than two in a row. So it's just which Niners are we going to get? You said it.
Yep.
It's a week to week team, and it's close. They lost the Seahawks by 3. Before that, they beat the Bucks by 3. Then they beat the Cowboys by 6, but lost to the Chiefs by 10. Who knows what we're going to get right now?
Yeah. And they're still
And
very, yeah, good.
that's I have to pick the Packers. I just feel like it's, even if they're not winning games convincingly, they've won 5 of their last 6. Winning games is the recipe. Whatever
I
that
feel
recipe is, it's working.
I feel like the Niners had finally figured it out before the Seattle game. Like, okay, the Niners are back. They're going to be fine for the playoffs. And
Right,
then they
five
just
and
dropped that
four.
performance.
Yeah, no.
You just don't know what you're getting out of them. I still trust Shanahan. I still trust that offense enough that I'm going to go with him there. But again, I think either way, you can't really be confident picking a Niners game.
No, you can't.
But we're going to move on now to our Sunday night game. Not a lot of games this week. We have the Los Angeles Rams also in that NFC West hunt. Got a huge win against the Patriots, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Charlie, what do you see in this one?
I'm seeing a pretty good matchup. I unfortunately think so. I love the Rams offensive matchup for this one because the Eagles are still rebuilding their secondary. I know Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell have been really, really good.
Mm.
At least that's what I hear from
Even
Eagles
Darius Slay
fans.
has been
Um,
solid.
but I hear they've been really good. That being said, they're not Cup and Nakua good.
Right.
Almost no corners are Cup and Nakua good. You try and guard Cup and Nakua, it's not going to go well. They just always seem to get on the ball more than you want them to. And if it weren't for how dominant the Eagles offense has been in the last few weeks, I might pick the Rams in this one. But right now, nobody's beating the Eagles. They've won six straight and haven't been too scared. I know it was close against Jacksonville and close against Cleveland, but these aren't scary teams to play against. These aren't teams that they were going to lose to.
Right.
And I would love to pick the Rams in this one. I'm a Giants fan. I always love picking the Eagles to lose. But if there's a team as hot as the Lions right now, it's the Eagles. And, the two of them are definitely NFC favorites right now. I,
Mhm.
readily await that NFC championship game if we do get it. Talk about offenses just in a shootout. We haven't seen one of those in few weeks. And
Mm.
or I feel like we haven't seen one of those marquee matchups that goes to
Yeah,
50 in a
no.
few years. And I don't know what the problem is, but I would love to see that with the Eagles and the Lions, as long as the Lions come out on top. So I will take the Eagles in this one. Um, I don't think it'll be that close, but I don't think it'll be a blowout.
Yeah, no, we probably said it on the podcast last week. The Eagles, I feel like now have emerged as the clear main threat to Detroit in the NFC. I'm not scared about that secondary, honestly. I think at the level they've been playing, Quinton Mitchell, I don't know if he's had a bad game. Like against every receiver he's faced, he's not necessarily locked them up, but he's more than held their own. And now he's starting to lock people up. Like Terry McLaurin, he did nothing. He was in, as Eagles fans say, Guantanamo Bay. I think that's what they say. But he was phenomenal. And then Cooper DeJean also, he was PFF number one graded corner. I don't know if he still is, but he's been phenomenal. Darius Slay, who a lot of Eagles fans wanted out last offseason, has been playing still at a steady level, a solid level. That might be the best secondary in the NFL right now. I think it's the best defense in the NFL, particularly because I think it's so much more complete than in 2023. I think linebacker was a huge concern for them last year. It was an area where you could attack the middle of the field and the Eagles wouldn't know what to do. Zach Bond has quietly been one of the best acquisitions of in free agency throughout the entire offseason. He has really kind of changed that unit along with the emergence of Nakobe Dean, who's also been showing up a lot recently the last few weeks. And that interior, Jalen Carter is having a great season. Milton Williams is having a great season. The one area where you think maybe it's a bit disappointing, the edge on the outside, they haven't really gotten a lot of pass rush on the outside of Josh Sweat. So they need some
Yeah.
help there. But I think that defense as a whole is up there with the best in the NFL, especially with how they've been playing recently. Again, like I said, haven't allowed more than 20, I think, since that Bucks trouncing. They really recovered well from that. I like their offense. I think Hurts didn't have his best game, but I think he'll be better. Also, he might have been concussed, honestly, that game. I think it was very possible that he was playing concussed. I think he'll be better against Los Angeles, who have a good pass rush, but their secondary definitely is there to be had. I think AJ Brown has a big game. I think the Eagles win this one pretty comfortably. I agree with you. Not a
Yep,
blowout,
for
but
sure.
not a close game either.
Yep.
And now we have Monday night, maybe the best game. I really like this matchup. This is a fun matchup. We have the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Baltimore Ravens, kind of an elite offense versus elite defense, or at least a very good defense matchup coming up. Charlie, I'll go to you first. What do you think about this one?
This is a tough one because I think the Chargers have just been proving people wrong all season,
Right.
and that's what they've been doing. And the Ravens have also almost been proving people wrong because they have four losses this year, and they're not very pretty losses. Last week losing a huge, huge game against the Steelers. They lost to the Browns, which is just embarrassing. They lost to the Raiders, which is embarrassing. And they started the season with a loss to the Chiefs. But this is a tough one for sure. I think if we were in Baltimore, this is an easy, easy Baltimore win. But being in LA, Baltimore going across the country to face the Chargers, Justin Herbert's playing really great football. I'm gonna take the Ravens, but I really don't want to. I don't like picking this game because I could see it really going two ways. Um, I just think, oof, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the Ra I think I have to take the Ravens. I will take the
Yeah,
Ravens.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens too. Not confident at all because I really think that Chargers defense. I mean, again, okay, Burrow and Chase did have their way in the second half, but for a lot of the game, when the Chargers were moving the ball and when they weren't getting three and outs, they were playing phenomenal defense. And even when the Bengals did score, it took a couple of fourth down conversions to get those points on the board. So they can go with the best of them, in my opinion.
They will go
They
with the
can.
Ravens.
They will. What I think will happen though is I think Henry and Lamar will have a good game on the ground. And I think more importantly, I think the Ravens pass defense is going to step up. I think they're not as bad as what their rank suggests. I know they were ranked as like one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL to this point. I think Nate Wiggins is starting to come into his own. Marlon Humphrey is still playing relatively solid football. It's just been that one cornerback spot. Brandon Stevens has been really disappointing this year. They haven't also gotten a great amount of pass rush as well. I think that changes. I think this is too talented of a defense really to be at the level that they've been at. I think also their run defense has still been very good this year. And I think if they do make the Chargers one dimensional, I think they're going to be able to slow down that offense in general. And I trust Lamar to put up enough points in this game. I trust the Ravens to bounce back. They usually do. Give me Baltimore. Again, I've not had a great week of a great day of hosting. I had again skipped one more game, so let's go to that. We have the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Arizona Cardinals in an actually very big game. This is a huge game actually for first in the or at least tied first in the NFC West. Charlie, again, I'm gonna go to you first for the last game of the week. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, another toss up here because these are both teams that I don't think are very good, but I also don't think are very bad. I think these are like very fair 500
They're
teams.
they're slightly above average, I would say. They're like
Yeah,
just
I mean, I would definitely put the Cardinals at slightly above average. I
mm,
don't know that I put the Seahawks at above average, but I mean, I saw the most recent NFL Power Ranking said the Cardinals is the 10th best team in the NFL, and I
I
looked
don't
at it and I
hate
was
that.
thinking
I don't
just
hate
I
that.
don't, but I just don't think that's right.
I just love what their offense is doing right now. I think their offense is probably the most balanced we've seen in the Kyler era. Um, I mean, their defense it's not that bad, honestly, but I don't love it on paper. But I mean, who were they above? Who were they above?
I think for me, Arizona's the 13th best team in the league right now. Like I'm
That's
just looking at
fair.
the
That's
standings
fair.
right now,
They're
and
in
I
that
put
like 10
Arizona
to 4. I'd say
13th,
they're like in that 10 to 15
which
range
puts them slightly
comfortably.
above average. Um, and then I'd probably stick the Seahawks right around 16 or 17, which puts them at league average.
Right.
So in this one, I have a tough time picking this game because again, it's in Seattle and divisional matchups, um, they're good games a lot of the time. I'm going to pick the Cardinals, um, with hesitation. I don't know who's going to win this football game, but I think if I've got to make a pick, I'm going to take technically the underdogs in this one, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, this is the toughest game of the week now for me. Save the toughest for last. Mike McDonald's defense kind of looked like it might have turned a corner against San Francisco. They looked good. Arizona are a tougher opponent right now on offense. Kyler is again playing phenomenal football.
Mhm.
Martin Harrison is starting to come into his own. You have Trey McBride, who's also phenomenal. James Conner. They can beat you passing the ball. They can beat you running the ball. And beating you running the ball, I think, is the main thing. I think that is something you're going to have to do on the road. Do this kind of young, new look Cardinals have a signature win? Because the Seahawks aren't a great team, but going to now Lumen Field, it's a tough environment. Again, the fans will be ready for it. It's a divisional matchup. It's a matchup for first in the division. That is super tough. I'm going to go Arizona as well. I'm going to go
All right.
Arizona as well. The main reason I say that, I don't trust Seattle's offense line. Namely, I don't trust that interior line. And I think Arizona are going to dominate time of possession. I think that's going to be the difference. They're going to take Seattle's crowd out of it with just kind of long, sustained drives as they've been able to do. I think Kyler right now, again, like I said, he's probably in the best kind of streak of his career. Maybe not the best. I mean, he was playing at an MVP level, but at this point in this season, he's the best he's looked in his career. Um, I think that's going to translate well to a road environment that he's got the weapons. He's got, honestly, the offensive line. He's got the play calling. Arizona win this, take a huge step to winning the NFC West. I'm not confident. I'm very, very kind of pragmatic about the pick, but I'm going to go Arizona for that one.
Uh,
But that, yep, oh no, you go ahead. My bad.
So, interestingly enough, this puts me and Surge with the exact same picks this week, barring the Packers-Niners game.
Oh,
Now, if this won't happen because Dylan is weird, Dylan's crazy, Kian makes bold picks too. If they were to pick all the same games as us and also take the Niners, as Surge did,
mhm.
and the Packers were to beat the Niners, regardless of what happens in the other, I think, 12 games this week, we would all be tied. The Packers beating the Niners, regardless of everything else, makes Surge and I tied.
I kind of might. I kind of need that. I kind of need
That
that.
would be pretty
That would be
incredible. I'd rather
insane.
us be tied at the end of this week than be the
A lot of these games too are going to be, I bet you, are going to be like sweeps. Steelers going to be a sweep. Bucks probably a sweep. Chiefs definitely a sweep. Commanders, I would say, are sweep. Dolphins are sweep. Texans are sweep. Lions are sweep. Vikings, I think, I would say is a sweep. Broncos is a sweep. Honestly, only the last four games I feel like are the ones that are
Yeah.
actually games to predict. And even the Eagles, Rams,
The Eagles are probably a
I
sweep.
feel like are close to a sweep. But I could see someone picking the Rams for that one.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a late window kind of week if you're an NFL fan. I mean, no, I won't say that. It's a week to week league again.
Well,
Any
look,
given
I think that
Sunday.
if you can't sit through 7 hours of football, watch the 4 o'clock games, not the one
Yep.
o'clock games.
Yep.
Sometimes there are times to watch one, sometimes there are times to watch the other. Sometimes there's a time to just watch Sunday Night Football. If you can't sit through a whole day of football, which to be honest, I can rarely ever do that.
If you have
Um,
work to do, do it during the 1 o'clock window.
do it during the 1 o'clock window. Tune in for the 4 o'clock for sure.
Absolutely. But that wraps up our week 12 predictions. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. We are also on TikTok, on Instagram, on, I'm sure, some audio platforms, probably Spotify. But make sure to follow us, wherever you see us. If you sat through this whole video, I mean, you probably did enjoy, so you should subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Make sure to also check out our other content. Again, we have two other hosts, Kian and Dylan, who weren't able to make it on this video, but they will certainly be on future videos. They're also on past videos if you want to check those ones out. And thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.